On May 12, 2023, after just 7 hours of deliberation, an Idaho jury convicted Lori Vallow Daybell on multiple charges of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and grand theft. Her victims were 2 of her own children and her new husband, Chad Daybell's first wife. This followed weeks of shocking, cringe-inducing, and heartbreaking testimony that showed Lori inhabited a world of zombies and demons, where she was an exalted goddess, singular in her beauty, exuding greatness with divine abilities including teleportation, the ability to call up natural disasters, and the ability to smite her enemies with her mind. Most importantly, Lori believed she was charged by Jesus himself to round up the 144,000 souls that are to be resurrected to heaven according to the book of Revelations in the New Testament. The claims were as outlandish as they were far-fetched, and gut-wrenching for the living victims. At trial, the prosecution's case was predicated on the usual suspects of motives: sex, money, and power. However, the tendrils of this story just kept spreading in wider and weirder directions. As I tumbled down this rabbit hole of clairvoyants, doomsday preppers, and energy healers, of folks who claim to have had near-death experiences, and the spiritual polygamists that comprise these fringe prepper offshoots of Mormon doctrine, I kept coming back to how many touch points there were to Lori's traditional middle-class LDS upbringing. How might the LDS doctrine and Lori's family of origin dynamics have contributed to her buying into these extreme and magical thinking patterns, which in turn provided the framework and justification for murder? How does someone get to the point where murder seems like a better choice than simply breaking ties and walking away? Are there clues in the differences in the way each victim died? And if so, what might they say about the worldview and culture of the LDS Church and Chad Daybell's Church of the Firstborn? Hello and welcome to the channel, where we explore true crime, false prophets, and pop culture. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Let's dive in. Lori's 3 murder victims were Tammy Douglas Daybell, Chad's wife of 30 years, a devoted mother of 5, active, caring, not yet 50, but a grandmother to 2 little boys. Her colleagues at Central Elementary, where she was a librarian, found her delightful and described her as lovely to be around. She had an affinity for animals of all types, but especially loved Indian runner ducks. Her family have decided to channel their grief into a foundation, the Tammy Douglas Daybell Foundation, to honor her passion for encouraging children to read. The foundation's goal is to get as many books as possible into the hands of children. If you're interested, I'll put a link to the foundation in the description. Next, Joshua Jackson, or JJ Vallow, Lori's adopted younger son, was a loving, intelligent, energetic, and inventive 7-year-old who, while coping with autism, was nonetheless a source of profound joy for those who knew him, especially his paternal grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock. And then there's Tylee Ryan, Lori's 16-year-old daughter, who was a sassy, smart, quick-witted, and beautiful young woman. She loved to sing and make silly videos and everything about the theater. She was an independent teenager who had finished high school early and was beginning to plan her future. In her short life, she knew trauma and instability, but nonetheless fiercely protected her mother and JJ. She adored her family, friends, and the Mormon Church. As with any murder, there are the living victims as well. In addition to the Woodcocks and JJ's other relatives, we have Lori's eldest son, Colby Ryan, who has now lost not 1, but 2 fathers, his siblings, and his mother. There is Lori's family, her younger sister Summer, and her mother Janice, who went on national television before the children were found to defend Lori as a near-perfect mom. Her surviving brother Adam, who was once very close to his sister, and who was cut off from the family for questioning Lori's dubious version of events after her 4th husband's death. There are Melanie and Brandon Boudreaux, Lori's adult niece and nephew-in-law, who lived close by in Arizona, and whose families got together regularly. Tylee's friends, who organized a memorial in Gilbert, Arizona for her the summer after her body was discovered, and who no doubt remember her at their own milestone celebrations Tylee will never be a part of. And of course, Tammy's family, including her 5 children, her grandchildren, and her sister Samantha Gwilliam, who, like many others, wept as she gave her testimony at trial. There was Tammy's mom, who passed in June of this year, the stress of the trial and the loss of her daughter exacerbating her already fragile health. Tammy's aunt, Vicki Hoban, who was allowed to give her victim impact statement at Lori's sentencing, and who also read Tammy's dad's statement for the court. There are her 4 siblings and a host of nieces and nephews who will all miss her terribly. And finally, the entire town of Rexburg, Idaho, whose tight-knit Mormon community comprises nearly 90% of its population and was devastated by the tragedy. All these and so many more around the world have been touched by this evil, and we all struggle to understand how something like this could happen. I'll pause here to say I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, nor have I had any training in a related field. Likewise, I'm not LDS, nor am I an expert in the doctrine. What follows is what I've uncovered from research and my own thoughts and opinions about it. Also, I am in no way saying that being Mormon or even being from a dysfunctional family system necessarily leads to tragic outcomes of any kind. We will, however, explore through lines of characteristics that could potentially distort or suspend critical thought, which in turn affects rational decision-making. This video is part one of a multi-part series where we'll explore how the core beliefs of Mormonism, and even Christianity to some extent, gives rise to a robust community of extremists. It is out of this community that Chad and Lori emerge, taking these beliefs even further. We'll explore how these beliefs affected Lori's family of origin dynamics and helped reinforce the delusion she still clings to today. I'll wrap up this video series with a video on the BITE framework, a great resource you can use to determine if you are in a problematic situation or oversee a situation that is sliding in that direction. Lori first made it into national news in November 2019 when it was reported that her children had mysteriously disappeared. The headlines frequently labeled her the Idaho Mom, but the truth is that she had only just moved her family to Rexburg in September. Prior to that, she and her 2 minor children lived in Gilbert, Arizona, close to her parents, her niece and nephew-in-law, the Boudreaux, and her brother, Alex Cox. JJ's grandparents, the Woodcocks, who lived in Louisiana, had become increasingly worried as they hadn't spoken to JJ in weeks that had now turned into months. This was out of character, as previously they had spoken regularly, even daily. The silence was even more concerning since the last conversation they had with the boy was short and ended abruptly. JJ loved his iPad and he was never away from it for long. Speaking with his grandparents via FaceTime was one of his favorite things. Even more worrying was the fact that Lori was putting them off, making excuses, or ignoring their calls and texts altogether. They grew so concerned that they tried calling various members of Lori's family, but no one had any answers, or, except for Lori's brother Adam and her now ex-nephew-in-law Brandon, even seemed very curious about where the children were. Kay had reason to be unsettled. The previously good relations between Lori and the Woodcocks were already strained because Kay's brother, Charles Vallow, Lori's 4th husband, had been killed in July 2019 at the hands of Alex Cox. Alex claimed self-defense and wasn't prosecuted, but Kay and Larry had their suspicions. They didn't know Alex well, but things had felt off with Lori for some time. Prior to 2018, Lori had seemed like a devoted mother and a caring friend, but sometime within that year things shifted dramatically and Lori became increasingly cold and distant. JJ had been born under less than ideal circumstances to Kay's son and his girlfriend, both of whom had substance abuse issues. Kay and Larry fostered JJ until he was 2 when Charles and Lori formally adopted him and began raising him as their own. By all reports, Lori and Charles had been caring and patient with JJ, who in addition to autism was diagnosed with ADHD and could be disruptive in settings like church and school. Kay and Larry continued in their roles as grandparents, and all was well for several years. Lori and Charles's relationship was not without its issues, however. While Charles was a good earner and provider and had converted to Mormonism at Lori's request, he struggled with bipolar disorder and drank more than he should to self-medicate. Lori, for her part, had become more and more involved with a group of Mormon preppers obsessed with demonic spirits, apocalyptic dreams, and the end of days. Tensions were mounting. Prior to Charles's death, Lori had been acting strangely, convinced that Charles had been taken over by a demon called Ned Schneider. For months he struggled as Lori's behavior became more erratic and extreme. In January 2019, Lori created a terrifying situation, stealing Charles's truck from the airport while he was away on a business trip, then calling to tell him to come pick up the kids because she didn't want them. She locked Charles out of their house, took $35,000 out of their bank account, and then fled with the children without telling him where they were.
So what's going on tonight?
I can't get in touch with my kids.
How old are your kids?
6.5 and 16. Okay.
How long have you been trying?
2 days.
Okay.
But She's lost her mind. I don't know how else to say it. We're LDS. She thinks she's a resurrected being and a God, and remember the 144,000. Jesus is coming next year. She took all the money out of her bank account today. My truck is gone from the airport. She went to the airport and got it. I just flew in from Dallas. Houston and Dallas. So,
Where's your truck?
I don't know.
Okay.
A friend of mine's truck had picked me up. I went to the CSI to file a report, which is the community bridges or something, to file a report.
So you did the petition?
Yeah, they ordered a pickup.
Okay. What time did you do that?
Hour and a half ago.
Okay. So what makes her a danger to herself and to others?
She threatened me, murder me, kill me.
She threatened to murder you?
Yes. And she said,
how did she do that?
My bishop right there is in the car. He was on the phone with me today when she said, "I will have you destroyed," was what she said there.
Okay, that's not a threat to kill you.
Yesterday was a threat to kill me.
Okay. What did she say yesterday?
She said, "You're not Charles. I don't know who you are, what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers."
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Says I'm gonna kill you too. Yesterday was I'm
So
gonna
she's
kill you.
speaking as a spiritual being.
She's not here.
Okay.
She's lost her reality.
Is this just all recent, or has it been going on?
It's been going on for about 4 or 5 years. It's gotten really, really bad lately. She goes to the temple every day and speaks with Moroni and Jesus Christ, and they tell her what to do. And now she came to her today, and last couple of days she says, "I'm not Charles. You're not Charles. You're Nick Schneider." I don't know where she gets his names from. She got all this stuff from these people in Utah who tell her how many past lives she's had and probation she's had. And she's was married to Moroni way back when, and she was also married to James the Just. And
Okay, this is all foreign to me. So
it's foreign to me.
Well, I'm not
It's
LDS.
crazy. It's crazy stuff.
I know you're using LDS terms here.
I know, but it's just
Okay.
she's nonsensical.
Okay.
And
Is he the older one or the younger
He's
one?
He's 6.5 years old.
Okay.
Okay. I want to do this now. You've got a pickup order. Am I correct?
We do.
Okay. If she doesn't answer, what do we do?
If she
Can
doesn't
I break
answer, we
into my
can't
house?
we can't enforce the order.
Can I break into my house?
Do you live here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's my lease. I pay the lease.
Do you guys have any orders of protections against you?
No, we do not.
So,
I'm gonna go get
no
one from
police
her
reports?
tomorrow. No, nothing.
Okay. So how does she pose a threat to your children?
I don't know what she's going to do with them. I don't know if she's going to flee with them. She's going to hurt them.
You don't even know if she's here, right?
Today on the phone. I can't. All the cars are. The garage is closed. I don't know. She locked the garage door. I haven't been up there yet.
I know.
She
But
said
hold on.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is, do you normally park 2 vehicles in the garage, inside the garage?
Correct.
Okay. So it's a possibility that her car and your truck are inside there?
I don't think she could fit my truck in her car at the same time. She may put them somewhere else. She said to me, "All your stuff is gone. Charles' stuff is gone. You're not Charles. Your stuff is gone." I don't know what that means.
And how long have you been trying to get in touch with the kids?
Since yesterday.
Since yesterday? Like last night or yesterday morning? Or?
Landed in Houston Tuesday about 10.
Okay. Why did you leave?
Business trip in Houston.
Okay. And when did you leave?
Tuesday morning about 5 a.m.
Okay. Tuesday. All right. Wow. It's
Wednesday night.
So you left yesterday?
Yeah.
You left yesterday morning. Flew to Houston. Flew back today?
Tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah. She canceled my flight. She came to the airport, took my truck.
Did she tell you that?
No, she knows the code. She knows where it's parked. She wouldn't.
Did she go with you to the airport?
No, but I go to the airport. I fly 45 round trips a year. She knows where I park. I've got handicap plates because JJ's handicapped. So,
did you file a stolen vehicle report with Phoenix?
I know she took it.
How do you know? You suspect?
I suspect. Okay. I suspect.
All right.
I know your term. So,
okay.
Yeah, but
without concrete evidence, we can't say.
I
for
suspect.
Sure.
Okay. And she has the keys, the code. It's a Ford. The code, door code.
Door code.
And I just want to see my boys okay. And she's got a pickup order. I need to go. She needs to go, and I'm going to take my stuff.
So you normally live here?
Yeah, oh yeah, I live here.
Okay.
Yeah, all my stuff's in my house.
Okay.
We got a service dog in there, beautiful dog. My daughter's in the front window right there.
So let me ask you this: when you came back, why didn't you just go to the home?
Because she told me not to come near it. All my stuff is gone.
Okay.
I'm not stupid. She could have done anything.
Okay.
I thought this would be the best way to do it. With what she's gone through and what Gabe witnessed with me on the phone today, I thought it was best to have her. She's psychologically, she's gone. Something's happened to her.
How old is she?
45.
45.
Beautiful
So,
woman,
if we talk to her, is she going to be able to have a rational conversation with us?
Oh, she will. I'm sure she will.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just.
She'll probably tell me I'm crazy, huh? Is that what you suspect?
Probably. But
Okay.
you're a dark spirit. That's what she's going to tell you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a dark spirit. Gabe's going to be, he's our bishop. He's going to be a dark spirit. Whatever that means. Okay, you're evil.
And you said this has been going on for like 4 years?
Well, it's to an extent, but it's gotten really bad the last several months. And I've been trying to ignore it because hoping it'll get better.
Is she on any medications?
No. She won't do medications.
Okay. Has she been to a doctor?
No, she won't go to the doctor because she's a translated being, and they would find out that she's translated. She cannot be killed. She cannot die.
And that's what she thinks?
Yes.
Okay.
And
she's been telling you that?
Yes, and Gabe too.
Okay.
He heard this, not just me. This isn't coming. I love her to death. This is killing me, officer.
Oh, I can understand.
Our 13th anniversary is next month. We've been at a great marriage. All of a sudden, the last month, it just blew up.
Mm-hmm.
She just lost connection.
Okay. So has she made any statements about wanting to hurt the children or anything?
Today, she said with Gabe on the phone, come take the kids. I don't care what happens to them. Come take them.
Okay, but she didn't make a direct threat towards the kids?
No, not a direct threat.
Okay. And then she said that she would murder you through a spiritual...
No, she said, I can murder you.
I can murder you. And she's talking in a spirit...
I will kill you.
Spiritual...
No, she's talking physically. I will kill you because you're not Charles, and nobody will care.
Okay, so she at this point doesn't think you are her husband?
She thinks I'm Mick Schneider.
Who's Mick Schneider?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's the name she used. I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
I'm just like, I'm as bewildered as you are. This is so foreign to me. Normal people, as far as I'm concerned, but this happens. It just drives me. I don't know what to do. I need help, and she needs help. She needs help, and go to bed. I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. I got to take my son to
And
school.
you just didn't want to go inside because of the statements that she made?
She took my car and my... Okay, I suspect she took my car and my keys. I had no keys to get in.
Oh, okay.
No garage door opener.
Okay.
She knows what she's doing. She took $35,000 out of our bank account today. I can't make payroll Friday for my company. It's just, she changed our bank account numbers. I had to change it myself to get back in, and I saw all the money's gone. I've got $7 in my name.
Finally, at his wit's end, Charles left the marriage in February of 2019 and filed for divorce. When Charles died, Lori had been expecting the $1 million life insurance payout, but Charles, increasingly concerned about Lori's mental health, her ability to take care of JJ, and his own safety, had changed the beneficiary to Kay. Lori was not made aware of this change until after attempting to claim the money only days after he was killed. To say this angered Lori is a bit of an understatement. In Lori's mind, Kay was now the enemy. With Thanksgiving approaching and still no word from JJ, the Woodcocks finally called Rexburg PD and requested a welfare check on the boy. Police Detective Ray Hermosillo was one of the responding officers and lead detective on the case. On November 26, 2019, he drove to the Rock Creek Hollow Townhomes at 565 Pioneer Road, a complex where Lori and her brother Alex, as well as her adult niece Melanie Boudreau, now Pulowski, had recently rented 3 units. Detective Hermosillo first encountered Alex outside in the courtyard where he told the detective Lori wasn't home. Alex was with Chad Daybell, whom the police knew because of Tammy's recent death. They also knew Chad was Lori's new husband. When asked about where JJ was, Alex at first deferred to Chad, and neither answered amid an awkward silence. After a bit, Alex told the detective that JJ was with Kay and Larry in Louisiana. But of course the detective knew this wasn't true. Alex also told the detective he didn't have Lori's phone number, which the detective thought was odd since Alex identified himself as her brother and lived in the townhomes. Turning his attention to Chad, he asked him when the last time he had seen JJ, to which Chad replied vaguely, sometime in October in Lori's townhome. Chad also claimed not to know Lori very well, saying the two had only met a few times. Detective Hermosillo clocked yet another lie. Not only did he know Chad and Lori had been married in Hawaii a couple of weeks earlier, but he himself had seen the two around town engaged in PDA. The detective didn't tip his hand on this point and left with more questions than answers. Later that day, Lori called into Rexburg PD, and two other detectives, Ron Ball and David Stubbs, went back out to Pioneer Road to officially interview her. Lori's voice in the audio was upbeat, even breezy, playing perfectly the charming, slightly frazzled, put-upon mystery woman that had served her well in the police interviews after Charles's death. Here's the audio from that visit.
Hi. You Lori? Lori, I'm Lieutenant Ball, Police Department. How are you? You got a minute? You alone, or that help? Or?
My brother's here.
Okay. This is Detective Stubbs.
Hello.
So, we're here.
Yeah, this is a big mess. I just talked to the guy on the phone.
And what did he ask you?
He was just saying that he wanted to do a well check on JJ.
So, JJ would be where?
He's in Arizona.
Who's he with in Arizona?
He's with one of my friends in Arizona.
Oh.
Hi.
Oh,
Hey.
you got a notepad?
No? Want me to get one?
No. Come here. You mind if he comes in?
No, no.
So,
Thank you.
Sorry.
who's the friend he's with?
My friend Melanie. Her
Melanie.
son has autism. Her name is Melanie Gibbs. I gave him all the information on the phone.
Okay, so he can call him?
Yeah.
Her?
Discord.
Yeah. What is all this?
We're a little
What is
concerned
it? Why?
because, well, the officers who were here earlier
Yeah.
were checking, and they got a bad vibe that like something was going on here because nobody knew anything about a child. They weren't talking.
It's because a
What's
lot of
going
stuff
on?
has gone on. If you want to know, it's a lot of stuff. So
Well, that's why we're concerned, because
It's very-
it just was kind of weird.
it is very weird. I've had to move around a lot. One of my brothers is trying to kill me. Not the brother that lives here, obviously. He's kind of my protector. My other brother that was in with my husband, who was trying to kill me for my $2 million life insurance policy. No way.
Now,
So a lot of stuff has gone on in this last year. It's been a horrible year for us. I've had to move around. And so I was going to move back to Arizona, put my son back into the school there because I tried to put him in school here, public school at Kennedy.
okay.
He went for 2 months. We tried it, but he had such a hard time. Now, the person who called is my sister-in-law, but she's his natural grandmother. He's adopted by us. Okay, so her son, who is a drug addict,
Okay.
had a baby with a girl who's a drug addict, and they took him from, CPS took him,
Okay.
gave him to the grandmother. She came and got him, and then she wanted us to adopt him, which we did. And we loved
By
him and taking
us,
care.
who we
My
talking?
husband and I, who died earlier this year.
Okay.
He passed away. Since he
Sorry to
passed
hear that.
away, she's been trying to fight me for him and being really horrible to me and that kind of stuff.
The,
She's kind of the paternal friend.
okay, thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
That's
I'm
what I
sorry.
needed. The paternal grandmother.
He has autism and ADHD. He doesn't really talk to people. Like he's very special needs. So I had him in a special needs school there. She was trying to, so what happened was my husband, who we were married for 15 years and had raised all these 5 kids together, switched his life insurance policy to her, right?
To
his sister,
okay.
who got $1 million when he died, and we got nothing. For me to raise JJ, and all the kids got nothing, and everybody got nothing. She got $1 million. So I knew she was going to try to sue me for him, or
JJ?
yeah, because she now has this $1 million, so she can hire people to help him, and I have nothing.
But you have
Nothing,
legal
but-
custody.
He's my son. I adopted him when
Right.
he was 2 years. We had him from the time he was 8 months old till 2 years old. So she does nothing that wants to cause me trouble. So I don't tell people the truth about where we are and what we're doing because of those reasons. So I look like a suspect, but I am not a good person. Raised all of my kids. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do in life, but everyone is causing me trouble right now. So
We don't want to cause a lot of trouble. How long have you been here?
we've only been here since September.
Good.
We moved up here in September. My daughter to go to BYUI.
Your daughter goes to BYUI?
Yeah.
Does she live here?
So it's been a nightmare. But I'm going to go back to Arizona so I can put him back in the special needs school. He couldn't do the school here. It was too hard for him. He would scream and cry, take him to school. The principal would have to come out, try to drag him out of the car. Like, it just was too hard. But I just don't tell people where I am. I don't tell her where I am ever.
Okay.
And she doesn't have any legal rights to anything. Like, she's been horrible to me since my husband died.
My understanding, she never called to try to get the child, hey, I'm interested in the child back, but that.
I know, but she sends me these emails with like the date and like she's putting up court stuff, like she's documenting. I haven't heard from him in all this time, and so I've told her that he's fine. But
See, and we hadn't heard any of that as far as.
I'm just saying she's doing this as part of that.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
And our only concern in this whole thing
Is that he's fine.
is the child.
I got it.
And so that's where we're at on the, and then
So
we
I
were just a
called
little
her.
weirded out when, and I understand now that we've heard your side of the story.
It's awful. I feel like I'm being tracked all the time. I'm like, why are police coming to my door? What
They
did I do?
They said they were out visiting with two guys, and I'm assuming one's your brother.
Who was this? Yeah.
Who was the other one? The other guy they were visiting with. There were two.
Visiting.
Well, we had two detectives over here trying to.
Looking for you a little while ago.
Oh, because I was at the store.
And they ran into probably one of your brothers in
My
the back
brother
there.
and his friend, probably.
Oh,
They've
who's
been
that?
moving. Chad.
Chad from around here? Mm-hmm. What's his last name? Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's just a mess that is constantly causing me trouble.
Chad the D-A-Y-B-E-L-L?
He's an author.
Doesn't he live like out in the? Isn't that the Chad Bell that? Didn't his wife pass away recently? Is that him?
I don't know,
I bet it is. Chad D-A-Y-B-E-L-L. Yeah.
but it sounds familiar as an author.
I think I know one of his. Has he got a couple of daughters? Is that
He has lots of kids.
okay. I'll bet it's safe. All right. Well, need anything else? Sorry to bother you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch it there at the end, the police officers were testing Lori by digging in a bit on the subject of Chad. You can hear Lori refer to him as Alex's friend, but both officers knew very well Lori and Chad were married. And even though the push at the end to get a rise out of her by mentioning Tammy and the girls failed, it was Lori who lost in the end. There's a lot to unpack in this interaction, including her accusations towards her brother Adam and her intense sense of being wronged by Kay. What is not clear from the recording is what the officers really thought about the interaction. At trial, one testified he thought it strange that Alex, who Lori admitted was in the house, remained upstairs during the interview, lurking in the shadows. He said he was worried about his and his partner's safety while interviewing Lori, in spite of her best efforts to charm and play the victim. All three people they had encountered that day were evasive and untruthful, but it was the lie about where JJ was, that he was with Melanie Gibbs in Arizona, that really set in motion the multi-state, multi-jurisdictional investigation that followed. What the police didn't know that day was that Chad and Lori were putting pressure on Melanie Gibbs to back their story, or better yet, lay low and not say anything at all. Gibbs at first obliged her friend's request and let the Rexburg police's call go to voicemail. She didn't return their call until a week later, but confusingly, she did contact the police in Gilbert, Arizona, perhaps thinking they were less of a threat. She lied to them as she was asked to do. The fact was that Melanie Gibbs wasn't even in Arizona but was in Utah visiting her boyfriend during the time in question. Melanie, like Lori, was deeply entrenched in the loosely knit community of extremists that orbit the LDS Church. This community spends an enormous amount of time and effort thinking about, talking about, and teaching about the end of days. This is a modern and democratized movement made up of publishing houses, Facebook groups, podcasts, seminars, online community forums, and good old house meetings. The two formed an instant connection when Lori attended a meeting that Melanie was leading. Shortly after they met, they joined forces to do a podcast called Time to Warrior Up with Jason Mao, published by the now-defunct Color My Media event, video, and photography company. This company was owned and operated by Michael and Nancy James. One event that they put on regularly was called Preparing a People. A big theme of preparing a people is believing the end times are here, right now. Take a listen to the first Time to Warrior Up podcast from 2018.
All right, it is November 26, 2018, and we are here for our very first podcast. My name is Jason Mao, and to my left is...
I'm Melanie Gibbs.
Melanie is awesome, for those of you that don't know who she is. She has some amazing abilities, amazing gifts. She is what we in the business call a gatherer, and people are naturally attracted to her because of just the light that beams out of her. The first time I saw her, I knew instantly that she was a gatherer, and she's become basically the point person here in the Southwest area for like-minded people to start focusing on greater light and knowledge and learning a lot about themselves and about the Lord and what it is that He wants from us. And so I am honored to have her to my left.
Thank you.
Also with us today is...
Lori.
And Lori is so cool. Lori and I met in a very, very unique situation. And real quick, Lori, let's talk about that before we start, because people don't even know who you are. Well, people in the know who you are, but one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is so that we can spread the light and knowledge and help people learn about who they are and find their gifts and draw closer to Christ. And what happened to you was pretty unique, and how we ended up in the same room together is even more unique. So can we start off with that?
We can. It's so fun to be here with Jason and Melanie. I love them so much and grateful for them and all their service that they do. I feel like that I work for the Lord. I feel like I've turned my life to Him from circumstances that have happened to me in my life. And I ask Him who He wants me to meet, who He needs me to go to, and what He wants me to do. And I was sent to the temple on a certain day to get a message from someone, and in walked Jason Mao.
And when I looked at you, when I looked into your eyes for the first time and really saw who you were inside, I instantly knew you're one of us. You're a gatherer. You get it. You understand that there's something bigger going on here than just church on Sunday, that this is the end times, and you are awake, you are prepared, you are moving in that direction.
Another important theme in this community are gifts and visions of prophecy. These gifts set this community apart, making them special, and they aren't shy about name dropping. Here is a clip from another episode later in the series that was played at trial.
Let's be really quick so you guys can ask some questions. I am a witness of Jason Mao. I'm a witness to everything that he said. I can, but to what he says about what the prophet says and about what the Lord is telling us and about the warrior spirit inside of us. Right? My job, according to Jesus Christ, is to wake up the women warriors. Because I too have gone to the bottom edge, just like Thor. I'm a witness of his testimony, a witness of your testimony. I too have seen the resurrected Jesus Christ, and He has told me my mission, and He has sent me to help people and lift them in their missions. And so I testify about that warrior. That's what I feel like do. When Jason starts talking, I just start pounding my head. I love to hear him speak. We go through. I'm just a normal person that grew up in the church, grew up in Southern California, went to Utah, went to BYU, did all those things, right? But my life turned bad. It turned really bad. And like Jason, I wanted to give up. And like where I was ready to go to the other side. I'm like, this is way too hard. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be out of here. And I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to pray and have the Lord just take me. Like, as a sweet mercy. Just take me. Done. I'm out of this game. And He showed me myself as a warrior in the pre-existence. as a warrior, like a beast. Like I fought with Satan. He hates me. I did all these things. And so he showed that to me so that I would quit whining. I was crying in the temple all day long in this lesson bawling my eyes out. People coming up like, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Since they're crying the whole time. But he showed me so that I too could be the warrior that he sent me here to do. And do I want to go back and say, I can't do this, it was too hard, I didn't do it? No, none of us want to go back and do that. We came here to fight this war, and what I know directly from Jesus Christ and angels from on high who have come to minister to me. Okay? The time is now. And this war is on, and it has started. And what Jason gave us about a timeline is accurate, true, and correct. These things will start happening in the next 2 years, and things are going to change, and we need to be ready for that change. And how we do that? We sanctify ourselves. We turn our lives completely over to Christ, and we let him build the warrior from within. And I will say that in the name of Jesus Christ.
The root of this belief in spiritual gifts can be seen in the Mormon doctrine, which teaches that spiritual gifts may be received by some according to their need to help them better serve humanity. These are usually considered personal revelations. They are meant to help a person bear his own responsibilities. They are not usually given on behalf of other people. To the preparing a people crowd, however, this nuance is not recognized. These spiritual gifts are melded with good old capitalism and commoditized as services and products. These products and services can then be sold to a community not only willing to believe, but willing to spend. Jason, for instance, is an author, speaker, and creator of something called Warrior Ethos, which he cribbed from the U.S. Army and has repackaged as an elementary school curriculum. In another example, a woman who spoke to East Idaho News said a boss she once worked for claimed he had these gifts. He said he could see evil spirits residing in the body and had the power to cast them out. He convinced her he had dispatched the spirits responsible for her celiac, blood sugar, and thyroid issues, and she became a walking advertisement for his services. He also claimed to be able to repair computer servers and patchy internet connections with his powers. Perhaps not surprisingly, even with the demons gone, her medical condition continued to get worse without proper attention. She said, "I started eating bread again and did an enormous amount of damage to my intestines and to my body." She also estimates that she spent close to $20,000 on supplies and food, mostly by cashing out her and her then-husband's retirement savings. "I didn't know I had been in a cult. I just thought I was a super faithful member of the church." In fact, she objects to the descriptor cult and believes extremist group is more accurate. Another gathering place for these like-minded LDS folks can be found in the website forum called Avow, Another Voice of Warning, where both Chad and Jason were prominent members and contributors. The site's target audience is LDS preppers who believe in dreams, visions, and prophecies. Enter here another peripheral but important character to the Chad and Vallow Daybell story. Julie Rowe is an energy healer, speaker, conference leader, and predictor of calamities well known in these circles. Julie and Chad were not only friends, but Chad was also the publisher of her first 4 books. Her first book told of her near-death experience, or NDE for short, and the vision she had of end of times. Chad and Tammy ran a small publishing company called Spring Creek Books dedicated to this type of work. Their catalog included several fictional serials that Chad wrote, which included characters that had NDEs. During these NDEs, they had communion with spirits, visions of end times, and prophecies. These experiences also always left them forever connected to the spirit world and able to divine future events and truths that the rest of us just can't understand. Earlier in his career, Chad had published a book by another author who also described an NDE, but it was nothing like what Julie Rowe had to offer. Julie has an extreme and charismatic personality that commands attention, loyalty, and even worship. The dynamics of this type of charismatic leadership seem to be very attractive to this audience. Julie, by her own admission, struggles with mental illness, but that's a feature for her, not a bug. Her clairvoyance has given her visions of global disasters, civil unrest, devastating earthquakes, humanity-ending floods, famine, and more. The fact that these never come true is beside the point. The fantasy is the point. Her fantastical visions are glorious. In addition, she's an outsider, a rule breaker, the underdog. This made her wildly successful in selling these visions, prophecies, and energy work through platforms like Preparing a People and a Vow. From the mid-2000s through the 2010s, Julie, Chad, Jason, and friends captured the imaginations of thousands of Mormons who cashed in their 401ks, raided their retirement accounts, and sold off their possessions to purchase tens of thousands of dollars worth of food storage, tents, trailers, guns and ammo, and all manner of survival gear. Today, Julie still has a devout following/clientele in spite of being excommunicated from the church in 2019 for her extreme beliefs. According to her website, she is focused on selling remote energy work and raising funds for her nonprofit, which is supposed to set up a network of tent cities to accommodate folks during the chaos of the impending end times. Interestingly, it was after Julie's success with her near-death experience that Chad rebranded his fiction as autobiographical and now claimed to have had his own NDEs. By 2018, Chad was describing in detail an NDE he had when he was 20 at a beach outing with family. What is true is that he was knocked over by a strong wave, pulled under with the tow, and hit his head. He was scraped up pretty badly, but according to his sister-in-law, there was never any talk about a near-death experience at the time. She explains that the story began to morph and grow over the years, taking on new dimension with time. But it was when Julie had such commercial success with her story that Chad really began to capitalize on this story as an actual NDE event. Another clue that we should be suspicious is how formulaic the narrative is. Anyone trying to write a romance novel can find a tried and true outline called a beat sheet with a simple internet search. A beat sheet outlines in what order and at what time certain plot points should happen. This is where the term meet cute comes from, meaning the moment the love interests meet. Both Julie and Chad's books hit all the requisite beats for a romantic vision of doomsday. First, a catastrophic event is the call to adventure. Then there are the inevitable trials and tribulations, until finally the good and holy heroes prevail. In this sales game, one needs a pitch, a hook, and because people buy on emotion, not logic, that hook needs to be emotional. So near-death experiences, coupled with a belief that these experiences pierce a veil between the living and the dead and forever change a person, tuning their abilities to receive spiritual information from the beyond forevermore, that is certainly emotional. And it's a powerful, if transparent, marketing tool. NDEs give credibility to someone ordinary and awkward like Chad, and the ongoing visions, prophecy, and special healing abilities that accrue become the products that he can sell. One note here, near-death experiences are real. Many people report flashes of their life experiences or the faces of loved ones, even those who have passed. Some experience euphoria and a sense of peace, while others experience anxiety and dread. NDEs have been reported across cultures, geographies, and even time. Some interpret ancient cave paintings in France and Spain as depicting these experiences. Plato's Republic describes such an experience. Clearly, nobody can know for certain what someone else's experience is, and so it's unfair to dismiss every NDE story or even spiritual revelation out of hand. But it is completely fair to be skeptical of those who use these stories to further an agenda or enrich themselves, which seems to be plausible in the case of both Chad and Julie. There is a rich history of Mormons with NDE experiences, revelations, and teachings, one that laid the groundwork for Chad and Lori's belief system, and we will explore those connections in a future video. So it was in this context that Melanie Gibbs met Chad and that Lori eventually met Chad. Lori knew who Chad was because she was a fan of his NDE books. When a Preparing a People conference featuring Chad was scheduled for October 2018 in St. George, Utah, Melanie and Lori were all in. Chad and Lori's meet cute happened at a folding table where he was selling his books after the event. Under commercial fluorescent lights, Melanie introduced the pair and the attraction was instant. Chad has memorialized his first encounter with Lori in a series of racy texts where she became a character called Elena and he became James.
They looked deeply into each other's eyes for the first time, and he knew he was in the presence of a goddess. He resisted an impulse to kiss her, but his entire body was on fire. He knew she was everything he had ever dreamed of. James had been blessed with great knowledge, but 99% of the people he knows do not realize that. As Alana leaned towards him and asked him questions, his heart burst with joy. James's physical attraction to Alana was almost overwhelming. As they talked, it was confirmed to him that they had indeed been married before and were eternal companions. A thick veil had been placed between them because of the unique, unparalleled love James and Alana had shared in previous lifetimes. That veil had prevented them from finding each other until this appointed day that would be remembered throughout the heavens as the true beginning of a spectacular mission that would save millions of souls and defeat the forces of darkness.
These texts go on and on. They are graphic, embarrassing, and frankly just plain gross, given that Chad and Lori's meet-cute would claim the lives of 4 people in just 12 months. Questions remain about Melanie's part in it all. She's a bit all over the place in her police interviews, denying she fully bought into the zombies and demons theory, but we know a few things for sure. On the one hand, she initially lied to the police about JJ being with her, and despite her denials, the police have texts that show she did buy into those beliefs regarding evil spirits. She had a front row seat to the Ned Schneider demon drama with Charles and the suspicion surrounding his death, and knew of Tammy's untimely death. She knew and spent time with JJ and Tylee and didn't have particularly nice things to say about either one, at least in private. She knew they were missing, yet she was willing to explain away their absence with wild conjecture because it was easier. On the other hand, Melanie Gibbs is no fool. Lori had involved her with the police, and now she needed a plan to get out of the hole she dug for herself with her lie. She devised this plan and wasted no time in getting receipts. She called Lori and Chad and recorded it, which provided some of the most damning testimony at trial. Here is some of that recording.
This is a recording on December 8th at 3:43 p.m. And I am calling Chad Daybell's phone number, and hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Sweet Melanie.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori.
Hey, let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're in Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah, of course, honey.
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Well, I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something? Or, like, trying to kidnap him?
Well, she said that lots of times before, but,
Okay, when I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know, so is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
No, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
We just felt that if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
Well, just in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right, so you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
And keep everybody else. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was, because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, Yeah, so do you think it's like your family, or, like your family, your dad, or, those people?
Family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like like I don't, like if I knew, like how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
I don't know why he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe.
Yeah. So how long are you gonna be away for? Like, are you ever gonna be able to come out and come back to society again, or are you gonna keep, come back? I mean, like, what does that look like?
I will do whatever the Lord needs me to do every day, so we'll see.
I just wondered if I was ever going to see you again.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay, so maybe when they're done chasing you, you'll be able to come out again, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing for them to be working with Kay to find me. There's nothing that's gone on that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're working with her in some dark capacity. The police are working with her in some dark capacity. There's no reason for them to be after me in the first place.
Yeah, has she threatened you at all?
Yes, lots of times.
Oh boy, like what did she say?
Well, it's in emails and everything.
So like she said she was going to come take him, or she was.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Nellie.
Well, I know it sounds like it. I'm just worried for you guys because, he's missing, and
I know exactly where he is. He's perfectly fine and happy.
Okay, well, I hope so. I had a scripture I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind.
I'd love it.
I was thinking about some of the things you guys have gone through, and I saw this scripture today, and I want you to contemplate.
Let me ask you a question. About a scripture. Okay. So, did Alma turn himself into King Noah, or what was he required to do?
Well, King Noah was incredibly wicked.
Yes.
And so he fled his evil ways, which was adultery and living riotously and breaking all the commandments.
Right. So what was he required to do, Alma?
He had to go and flee so that he would be safe, and then help other people realize how jacked up the system was and the government was.
What about Moroni? What was he required to do at the end?
To carry on those plates and bury them. That was his responsibility.
What did he do to do that? What did he have to do to do that? Did he hide?
He had to hide. He had to hide because they were so. Everybody was killing everybody in the society. Everybody was dying. They were killing all the Nephites.
And the scriptures had to hide in the cavity of a rock by day and go out by night.
The prophets did.
They did.
Yeah. Okay,
So
well, thank you for sharing that with me. Okay,
For those who are not Mormon, the characters Lori refers to here are from the Book of Mormon, which tells the story of how Mormonism was founded and of its travels to the American West. King Noah was a greedy and wicked man who eventually got his comeuppance by being burned at the stake. Moroni was a prophet who had to go into hiding to avoid being killed by the Lamanites, who were also wicked. Lori has repeatedly claimed that she is sealed, which means eternally married to Moroni. Let's listen to a little bit more of this recording to get a sense of how Lori frames herself in relation to the world around her.
This scripture is just something that may be thoughtful for you. For behold, this is Doctrine and Covenants, section 3, verse 7 and 8. It says, For behold, you should not have feared man more than God. Although men set not the counsels of God and despise his words, yet you should have been faithful, and he would have extended his arm and supported you against all the fiery darts of the adversary. He would have been with you in every trouble. So when we work with the Lord and are obedient, He's going to protect us from adversarial darts and all kinds of negativity. But when we open the door to Satan, he comes in and then he attacks. And then he takes away to make it look like somebody else took it away. But that's not how God works. He doesn't work in darkness.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what the Lord is doing for me. Exactly what he's doing for me.
Oh, it just sounds weird.
Open the door for darkness, Mel. Darkness is knocking on the door all the time because that's the way dark works with the light. And I promise you that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in the cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is, because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
I know.
It's coming after me for zero reason besides the darkness of Kay, which you already know she's dark.
I haven't met her enough to know if she is dark or not. I've just met her slightly, and she seemed like a normal kind of person, but then I haven't engaged with her that much, so I don't know that personally.
So you don't know about her changing the thing for herself to be the beneficiary of the policy and all that stuff. None of that's dark, right?
Well, I haven't seen those documents, so I have no way of knowing.
I've seen them on my computer.
No, I have not. I haven't even looked on your computer before. You haven't shown me anything.
I don't know why you're being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever. I don't know what your intention is on this phone call.
Well,
but I love with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always love you.
I appreciate those words, but if you really love me, you wouldn't have told the police that I had JJ with me. That's not what a friend does. I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it's not safe for me. That doesn't look good. I mean, you had to think of my welfare if you love me.
There are a couple of things to take away from this clip, besides the surreality of these two using scriptures to duke it out. First, to Lori, the world is divided into two groups, those she can use to further her aims, or those that are obstacles to her ambitions. The second is the reference to dark spirits. These are in contrast to light spirits, which, okay, that tracks, but this is where any real logic evaporates. To Chad and Lori, these aren't general descriptions like a gloomy countenance or a sunny smile. Chad and Lori's dark light scale is a numerical representation of a person's right to exist. Ty Lee, for instance, was a 4.1 dark. In Chad and Lori's convoluted rating scale, this meant that she was beyond saving. Ty Lee, like Charles, had become a zombie. Meanwhile, back at Rexburg Police Headquarters, the detectives were so troubled about their interactions with Lori, Chad, and Alex that they put in for a no-knock search warrant that same day. It came through quickly, so 24 hours after initial contact, they headed back out to Pioneer Road to search the properties. When they got there, they found all the townhomes abandoned. In Lori's unit, all that remained were a few toys, kids' books, and JJ's ADHD medication that had been left on the counter. There were no kids in sight. The adults were gone too, and it looked like they left in a hurry. Detectives found guns, ammo, silencer, knives, survival kits, and some Tyvek overalls among bags of discarded clothes and pictures with LDS imagery. These findings convinced the police that JJ and Ty Lee were both in danger, and it convinced them to reach out to the FBI. Over the next months, the investigation would reveal that the last known proof of life for JJ is a photo from September 23, 2019, where he is sitting in his living room on Pioneer Road, ready for bed, wearing red PJs. The last known sighting of Ty Lee, whom no one could account for after September 8, 2019, was in this photo taken in Yellowstone, where she, JJ, Alex, and Lori vacationed right before she disappeared. By late September, Tylee's older brother Colby hadn't heard from her since she'd moved to Idaho. Then again, he had a newborn on his hands and just chalked up the lapse to him being busy. It was also around this time that Lori, too, distanced herself and stopped returning Colby's calls or texts. He hadn't talked to Lori in some weeks when on December 11th, police officially announced the children were missing and that Lori had failed to produce her children per court order. Given Lori and Chad's increasingly suspicious behavior, Rexburg authorities also took a closer look at the circumstances surrounding Tammy Daybell's death. Tammy died on October 19th in her own bed while Chad slept alongside her. Initially, there were some questions about the death scene, including why Tammy was half on and half off the bed. Chad said it was because he had rolled over in his sleep and pulled the sheet, releasing her. There were also concerns about a pink foam coming from her mouth. This was eventually dismissed, albeit with a question mark. The scene didn't look disturbed, and Chad seemed appropriately upset. He told police that Tammy had been feeling poorly lately, and they were initially satisfied with Chad's explanation. The coroner ruled the death a heart attack. Upon closer investigation, however, the story that Chad told about how sickly Tammy had become started to unravel. None of her friends or family saw Tammy the way Chad described. They saw a vibrant and healthy woman. She'd recently been attending a high-intensity dance class where she was learning to clog. She had also, in the recent past, trained for a marathon, and she was currently taking a Zumba class with her daughter. It began to raise questions about why Chad was so adamant that Tammy not be autopsied. Then there was the fact that he rushed the funeral. Tammy was found on a Saturday morning, and the funeral was held the next Tuesday morning. Among those unable to attend because of the short timeline was her own son, who was in Johannesburg, South Africa, serving a mission. One friend testified he was surprised that Chad had already begun organizing the funeral on the afternoon of the day Tammy died. Chad also had Tammy buried in Springdale, Utah, where the Daybells had lived prior to moving to Rexburg. This meant that her children and Chad wouldn't be able to visit her regularly. It seemed like Chad was moving on in record time, so much so that Chad and Lori married a mere 14 days after laying Tammy to rest. The two eloped to Hawaii and seemed the picture of bliss in their seaside wedding photos. At trial, it was shown that Lori purchased their wedding rings weeks before Tammy died. Perhaps most puzzling for investigators trying to piece together this story was a Facebook group post just 10 days before Tammy died. On October 9th, she wrote, "Something really weird just happened, and I want you to know so you can watch out. I had gotten home and parked in our front driveway. As I was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly standing by the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded. I was about to smack him with my freezer meals when I decided to yell for Chad instead." Authorities exhumed Tammy's body in December and began the autopsy Chad didn't want. That autopsy would eventually show that Tammy died of homicide, specifically asphyxia by another's hands. But we wouldn't know that until the trial. We also wouldn't know that Chad had spoken to friends of his visions about Tammy's early death quite frequently. One friend told a news outlet that Chad said, "I don't know how or when, I just don't see Tammy living past 50. So in late 2019, as Christmas came and went and the new year approached, Colby, the Woodcocks, Lori's family, Chad's family, Tammy's family, the city of Rexburg, and the entire world faced the holiday season without knowing what had happened to JJ and Ty Lee or where Chad and Lori were. This is where we'll end the video for today. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking it out. This is a complicated and sprawling case, and what I've presented here honestly just skims the surface. Please join us for part 2 of this multi-part series. We will take a look at Alex and his role as unindicted co-conspirator, Chad and Lori's arrest, finding the children, and the trial. I hope you'll join us. If you would like to hear more of the trial testimony directly, East Idaho News has published all of it on its website. Nate Eaton, in particular, was in the courtroom and has covered this case from the beginning. His reporting, as well as his insights, are valuable, and I recommend checking out both East Idaho News and his personal channel, Meetin' the Eatons. And if you like this video, please give it a like. If you didn't, it's perfectly fine to give it a dislike. Either way, I'd love to know your thoughts about the case, so please leave a note in the comments. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, be safe, be well, love yourself, love your neighbor. Bye for now.